The prehistoric Wollemi pine has been saved from virtual destruction in the New South Wales bushfire crisis by an elaborate sprinkler system. Known as dinosaur trees, the pines were thought to be extinct until around 200 of them were discovered in a remote gorge in the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney 25 years ago. David Crust is the director of the Blue Mountains branch of New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife, and he was involved in the special operation to protect the trees.
The trees were on Earth at the same time as the dinosaurs. They were thought to be extinct until they were effectively rediscovered in 1994 by a park ranger in Wollemi National Park. And there's less than 200 trees in the wild. There's about 100 mature trees and there's a bunch of juvenile trees across the wild population.
Just explain to us how they were able to be saved. What were the challenges? You were obviously involved in the operation to try to save them.
Yeah, look, I've been fortunate to be involved in managing the Wollemi Pines for nearly 20 years now. So, I've spent quite a bit of time in the populations, and fire was always something that we're very concerned about. The species was sensitive to fire, and we've been planning for a long time on how we would manage the pines if they were under threat from fire. So I guess there was a number of approaches here. We set up an irrigation system effectively in the population, so pumps and sprinkler systems. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of water in the gorge, so we had to operate the pump daily and exhaust the water supply and then go back the next day and restart the pump. So for about a week before the fire impacted, we flew our remote area firefighters into the site. We winched them down into the gorge and we fueled up the pumps and we started the pumps. So that was kind of the first line of defence. We also had a number of other approaches. We laid some retardant, some fire retardant from some very large air tankers in strategic locations between the Wollemi pine populations and the approaching fire fronts. And that helped just to slow the intensity of the fire down as it approached the site.
It really is quite a remarkable operation. But David, some would question the decision to save these particular trees and not of any others threatened by the fires. Do you know if there were or any other operations being carried out to save other endangered and unique biodiversity?
Oh, certainly. We've got a number of programs that are underway to protect threatened species that are potentially going to be impacted by fire. So, this was part of a broader strategy to help conserve threatened species across our reserves. For example, we've been feeding brush-tailed rock wallabies to make sure that habitats that's been burnt out by the fires, so they have a food source to help them recover post-fire. And we had a number of other programs to protect particular threatened species populations. But obviously the Wollemi pines are a particularly important species, and the fact that this is the only place in the world where they exist, and they exist in such small numbers, is really significant, and that's why it was so important.
Could you give us an idea of how the rest of Wollemi National Park has fared in this bushfires?
Well, this has been an exceptional season, and what we've seen large areas burn, and we've seen fires burn very intensely. So we're seeing areas that wouldn't normally burn, like rainforest gorges, that are actually being burnt, which wouldn't normally happen. The park's a large park. It's 500,000 hectares. It's the largest remaining wilderness area or identified wilderness area in New South Wales. And unfortunately, a large part of the park has burnt. So about 90% of the park is burnt. Fortunately, today we've got great weather conditions. We've had a little bit of rain, which we hope is going to continue. And we hope that's going to give us the opportunity to protect the remaining unburned areas of Wollemi National Park and keep those areas as refuges for plants and for wildlife.
And we wish you all the best. David Crust there from New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife. Thank you.
Thank you, Fawzia.